Hello, and thanks again for joining us on Training for Group Experience. Today I'm going to show you how to add a product once you've gone through the different steps with creating your proposal. So far at this point, you should have added in your counts for your group, added in a tour director if you do want one on a trip, and the next step that's going to come up is step number 2B, add a product. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, so just give me one moment. Okay. So under step number 2, we're at the point of adding products to a proposal. So I'm going to click this button right here, step number 2B, to add a product. There's going to ask you, it's going to give you a few options of things that you can go in. You can view dining suppliers, attraction suppliers, entertainment suppliers, and so on. You can also see things by other destinations. These different buttons up here are going to show you a list of options that you can choose from for adding a product. But if you already know who you're going to be using, you can simply go down here and click Add Trip Product, this blue button. You do have the option to designate something as an optional product. That's if you would like something where it's not necessarily part of the package trip price, but it's something that people can opt to do while they're on the trip, or they can prepay for it before they go on the trip, but it doesn't mean that everyone's going to participate. If you want something optional, you just click this little check mark. Otherwise, at this time, we're going to go in here and we're going to select a supplier. So I'm going to pick a supplier that I would like to use for dining. And this is going to be a Washington, D.C. trip. So I'm going to pick Hard Rock. Ooh, if I could spell. No. Now, what happens is when I put in the supplier's name, it's going to give me a list of all the suppliers we have in the system that's associated with Hard Rock. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to pick one that is in the Washington, D.C. area. The way you're going to know what destination this particular location tailors to is it's either going to say the location or city next to its name. It'll also show it here in destination. It's going to also show you the address for your venue. So I'm just going to go down and I'm going to look for Washington, D.C. And so you can go through here and scroll this way if you'd like, or I can go back up here and start typing in Washington. And now it's going to show me, now it slims it down even further, or filters it down, I'm sorry, even further. So now we've got our Hard Rock Cafe, Washington, D.C., and this is the location I'd like to pick. So I'm going to click on that. The next thing it's going to ask you is to select the product price you want for that particular supplier. In here, you're going to see a list of different menu options and pricing that this supplier has given us. So you can just go through, you'll be able to see the product name, the price description. So like this one is a boxed meal. It's going to show you the student and adult pricing. It would show if there was a group price, if there was one. It's going to show you the valid dates of this pricing. So this one is valid January. It started January 1st of 2025 and it ends June 30th of 2025. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at the different prices. You are able to, if you can see here, this has a valid date of 2024 to end of 2024. You can pick this supplier or this particular product if you'd like. And what will happen is because this is old pricing, if you were doing a 2025 trip, what will actually happen is the system will automatically add a 5% cushion to this until we have the updated 2025 pricing put in there. But since this trip is a 2024, I'm going to pick one that has a valid date to the end of this year. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say that we're going to do the silver menu. From there, it's going to give you the supplier destination, your price description of what's included in that particular menu that we chose from. It's going to show us the student and adult, the ratio that we put into the system ahead of time, the pricing, what it totals out to, and so on. The next thing it's going to ask you is if this pricing needs further calculation. This is going to come in handy when you do things like hotel security, various things that, you might have, let's say like I'm going to use security as an example. You might have 2 security guards times 4 days times X amount of hours. You can get the system to calculate that. So if I wanted to say, yes, I needed further calculation, it's going to tell me, it's going to give me an example of how it needs to be done. I'm going to say, okay. And then this is where you put in the, like the number, like for a security guard, you put in the number of nights needed by the number of guards needed by how many hours. Now this goes into, you can do it for pizza parties. If you're doing some sort of a boat cruise where you're going to, you know, that the group's going to be on more than one boat, things like that, you can put those calculations in. But for this, because it's a restaurant, I'm going to say no. The next thing it's going to ask is if we need to add miscellaneous cost into this particular supplier. This would be handy if you needed to add gratuity, because you know the restaurant doesn't add gratuity, or even guiding. If you needed to add in gratuity, something extra that you would need to put in as a miscellaneous cost. This is going to give you a yes or no drop box. If I say yes, it's going to ask me what that pricing is. For the group, if it's something, let's say, like a gratuity that you just want to put in a lump sum for, that's where you're going to put it in as the group. So what would happen is if I put in $250, it's going to take that $250 and divide it amongst the paying participants on the trip. If you wanted it where it was a dollar amount that was attached specifically to each paying participant, then you put that in here. So let's say we want to do $5. What will happen is it'll automatically calculate it for you. So it's telling us that we're going to need $200. This $200 is going to be added into the package price. But under the miscellaneous individual, what this actually does is it adds $5 to each paying participant's package. And I'll actually just keep that in there and put in that, you know, I can put in a note saying that this is gratuity for the restaurant. The next thing it's going to ask you is, what language do you wish to use on your itinerary for the product for your proposal? Right now in our system, we have where it has a short proposal language, where here it says meal included at Hard Rock Cafe. If you wanted it to say something else, or maybe have some more descriptions, and this goes for any kind of product that you pull into the system, you do have the ability to override it if you don't want to use our generic language that's in here. So if I went in here, I would click on add my own language, and in here you would type in whatever language you wanted it to be, and it will override this here. If you want it to be just the short proposal language that we have suggested in here, you can click on that. It's going to show us that that's what it is. The next thing it's going to ask you is if you want this product included as an inclusion on your proposal. So what happens is when we get to the step of generating a proposal, when you generate that proposal, the first page is going to be a tentative itinerary. The second page is going to be a list of all of your inclusions, what's included in your package price, things like that. So if you want this restaurant listed as one of the places that they're going, and you want them to know specifically what meals and at what restaurants they're going to be going to, this is where you would choose yes, you want it as an inclusion. If you don't want something like that listed, you would click no. And what will happen on your proposal, it will just show that you have a meal included with no won't specify a location, especially if you know this may change. It's also going to ask you if you need to duplicate this product. What that means is if you're going to use this product on multiple days, you can duplicate it so you don't have to keep going in and entering this product one by one. But this one, we're just going to say no. We're only going to use it for one day. This is going to ask if I want to add any product notes. I'm going to say yes, because I want to note that this $5 per person that I included is for gratuity. Once you're done, you're going to see what your final total cost is. It's going to show you that the per person is $35. So this is $30 for the menu that I picked, plus the $5 additional for the gratuity. Once I'm done, I'd hit save and continue. And then once I'm done with that, once I'm done adding in all the different products that I wanted to add into this trip, the next step that I would do is I'd hit save and continue. The next thing it's going to ask you is check to assign dates and day sections for your trip products. If you want to start assigning things to certain days and times of day, you'd click this button. It's going to give you this drop box, and all you need to do is in this grid, you just click into the box. It's going to give you a drop box that says make a selection. So we're going to pick the date that I want this supplier on. So I'm going to say it's the first day. The next thing that will happen is it's going to ask you for a day block. So when do you want this meal? Like what portion of the day are you going to have it? In this portion of the system, it doesn't give you options to assign times, because typically at this point, you don't necessarily know what time everything is going to be at, but you want to give your client a proposed itinerary to say, this is what we're going to do in the morning, this is what we're going to do in the afternoon, and this is what we're going to do in the evening. So if I click into this day block section, it's going to give me a drop box, and it's going to ask me to make a selection. So I'm going to say that I want this to be lunch. Once you're done, you just tab right out of it. Our product name is the Silver Menu. This is our price description. And once we're done with adding in all those different details, we just hit save and continue. And what will happen now is at the bottom of your screen, you're going to start seeing all the different trip products that you added into a trip. If you have any questions about how to add more things into here, please let us know. But basically adding a trip product, these are things like your meals, attractions, any kind of guided sightseeing you might have, any activities you might have. If a group is going to some sort of festival, anything you can think of like that, that would be what your trip product is. If you need anything else, please let us know and have a wonderful day.